Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today I'm creating something a little bit different from what you're used to seeing on my YouTube channel. Generally, I create projects that I want to send out to another person or for another adult or just for a card making idea that I've got kind of stuck in my head. Today I'm creating from a different kind of stamp set that is all about the kids. I have a stamp set here that is called Arcade Friends from Kindred Stamps, and I'll give you a look here. This one is just for my kids. They are in love with the images from Kindred Stamps. Some of their favorite TV and movie characters are similar to the images that are in this different stamp sets. This one today reminds them of somebody that they're really used to seeing right now. I don't think we're supposed to say who it reminds me of. I'm not really sure. But anyways, my kids saw these stamp sets and just went nuts. So I'm creating some projects that are going to be for my kids and to kind of test out to see how I liked using this stamp set. Then I created the sweet little girl and made a very easy to duplicate project. Here's the card I created, and you'll get a better look at it whenever we turn the video and start. I'll share some photos. But what I really like about this project is that I can choose any way to feature the little girl that works for my kids. So my son Nate is the one who really likes this little character, and there's lots of candy floating around in the background too. So this is a little something of what makes me happy and something that makes my children happy, all rolled into one. We have lots of ideas that we're going to use these stamp sets with. We've gotten quite a few from Kindred Stamps, and my kids are just raring to go. It reminds me of when I was a small child. We had paper dolls, and I used to play with paper dolls for hours and hours and hours, and it was just so much fun to me. It just was the option of being able to change things up and make it all mine. So what my kids are starting to enjoy with these few stamp sets is that they can take the little character and they can put it in a scene. So we have some plans on creating some different little scene books, something kind of like paper dolls. But to get started on using and getting a feel for these stamps, I made my own project today. So I hope that you like something different. This project is going to have some watercolor and some alcohol marker coloring, and it can be simplified to suit your needs or jazzed up even further if that's what suits you. Are you ready to get started? Let's check it out. We'll start our project off today by creating a fun background. We're going to use watercolor paper and the Emboss Resist technique. First, I'll treat the paper with an anti-static bag, and then I'm going to stamp the candy images with Versamark clear sticky ink. I'm going to stamp them in a random pattern, and by using this ink, it allows the white embossing powder to stick just to the stamped images. Embossing is a technique that never gets old for me. It's like magic every time. Once the white powder is sprinkled on, I can see exactly where I stamped those images, and then I can heat them with my heat tool set to high. Because it's watercolor paper, I try to heat the front and the back of the paper evenly. Using a water brush filled with tap water, I'm coating the entire panel with water, and if you get too much, just dab it off on a paper towel. I'm using some diluted ink from the lid of the Coastal Cabana stamp pad. Because my paper is already wet, then this new color I'm adding just melts around. It's so easy to do watercoloring with this technique. As you can see, the fluid is resisting or pooling up around those images that were heat embossed. There were little tiny areas inside the stamped candy images, and now I can fill them with a pop of color. So now it looks like I've got a nice calm background and then some different little floating candy pieces. This is Granny Apple Green. I'm just filling it in, no special techniques. And then Lovely Lipstick is a beautiful red color that will also contrast nicely. If too much ink gets into one area, then just do like I used the paper towel and dab it up. No problems at all. Emboss Resist watercoloring is one of the easiest card making techniques, one of the first that I ever used very frequently, and I often come back to it as much as I can. Here is a basic black Stampin' Write marker. It's dye ink, and because the panel is still wet, those little flick marks are going to spread out just a little bit. Once the panel is completely dry, I'm using the third from the largest of the stitched rectangle dies. I can choose any place on this panel that I want to die cut. That's fun too. I'm stamping the image onto thick Whisper White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. It's always helpful to remember that when you're going to color with alcohol markers, to stamp your image with a water-based stamp pad. Otherwise, all of the colors will run together like a big muddy puddle. I've colored in her skin tones with ivory and light crumb cake, and then gave her some pink cheeks with a light petal pink marker. Now I'm using the Pool Party light and dark together with just a very light gray to give a tiny bit of shading to her clothes. I want her jacket to kind of blend in and bring the blue tones together. On her skirt and on her leggings, I'm mixing together Lovely Lipstick and Granny Apple Green. This is going to bring the green and red from the background together into the project as well. It's easy to tie in elements together by using the coordinated products, and it makes it more pleasing of a project to my eye. Coloring her hair is perhaps the most challenging part. I hear oftentimes people ask me they don't know how to color hair. My best advice is to use the white space as much as you can. Don't color in the areas that you want to remain white. Instead, start with a medium tone marker. Mark off some areas that you want to be shadows. Then go with the deep tones, enhance those, and then come back with a light marker and even it all out. This is the same process I used for the hair and for her shoes. I first added the shoe color darker into the shadows and then kind of blended it out with the lighter color. This is that same black marker from before, and I'm just running it along the cut edge because thick paper can leave a very distinct white edge whenever it's cut. This little sentiment is so much fun. I thought it would be nice to give it a die cut with an oval. So here is the oval that fit the most nicely with the sentiment. I've used some double-sided tape, tear-in tape, as my adhesive to attach this panel down to the card base. The card base is an A2 sized top folding card that once it's finished folding, it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Here's a few clear heart adhesive backed heart drops. I think they're called heart epoxy drops, and they were just a nice little accent to bring a little bit more sparkle to this project. I like how all the colors work so well together. I colored in an additional image and will attach that to the inside of the card. Cool, huh? Do you like the way that project turned out? I think my kids are really going to love crafting with these. I've even interested my oldest son, Trip, who's 8 years old, and he has a problem with holding a pencil or crayons, but I've interested him in coloring something that looks like Outer Space Adventures. That's what we'll call it. But he's really excited to even get going on it. So I'm really excited to be crafting with my kids. That makes me happy. Here's another look at the project today, and I hope you see something in it that sparks your creativity and makes you feel like crafting in your own way too. Thanks again for joining me today. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day!